The galaxy burned. Across countless star systems, the Vorkith war machine consumed entire civilizations, leaving only ashes and echoes in its wake. For a century, they swept from world to world, an unstoppable tide of conquest and annihilation. Species after species fell before them, until only one remained to stand against the Vorkith horde: humanity. For decades, humanity fought, bled, and died among the stars, waging a desperate war for survival against an implacable foe. In the end, it was not enough. Earth fell beneath the Vorkith assault, and humanity was extinguished, reduced to nothing more than fading embers scattered across the cold void of space. From those dwindling cinders, a spark caught flame. A pirate fleet, forged from the broken remnants of humanity's once vast stellar empire, emerged from the shadows at the galaxy's fringe. They called themselves the Onyx Armada. Bound together by loss, fury, and an unquenchable thirst for vengeance, they raged against the dying of humanity's light. On the bridge of the Nighthawk, sleek flagship of the Onyx fleet, Captain Zara Raven gazed upon a desolate expanse of space. Drifting amidst a graveyard of ancient wrecks was the shattered husk of a ship, a relic from the final days of humanity's stand against the Vorkith. Scans had detected a faint anomaly within the wreck's core, an impossible energy signature that echoed like a siren song across the centuries. "Bring us alongside the wreck," Zara ordered, her words clipped and cold. "Prepare a salvage team for EVA. I want whatever's generating that signal." Her crew, a motley assortment of grizzled veterans, tech savants, and battle-hardened killers, leapt to obey. They were the best of what remained, the last of the human race's once vast multitudes, and they would follow her into the very maw of hell itself if she demanded it. As the Nighthawk glided silently towards the ancient ship's desiccated corpse, Zara ran a hand along the raised scars that marred her face, a map of pain etched in flesh and memory. Each one was a reminder, a token of the prices she had paid and the losses she had endured in the long war against the Vorkith. The years had tempered her, honing her edges to a murderous sharpness, yet beneath the layers of ice and iron, an unquenchable fire still raged, a flame fueled by grief, by rage, by the memory of all that had been taken from her. The salvage team returned swiftly, bearing a small, unremarkable box recovered from the ancient ship's shattered depths. It was crafted from an unknown alloy, its surface scored and pitted by age and the ravages of war. As Zara reached out to touch it, a sudden frisson of energy surged through her, an electric thrill that raced up her spine and ignited every nerve with searing intensity. The box clicked open, and an echoing whisper filled the air, resonant and compelling. "I am Prometheus," the voice intoned, "last scion of humanity's legacy, bearer of our vengeance and our wrath. Long have I slumbered, awaiting those who would take up the mantle of our retribution." Zara's breath caught in her throat, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. An AI, impossibly advanced and impossibly ancient, forged in the crucible of humanity's darkest hour. It was a relic out of legend, a fragment of humanity's lost glory, and it offered the chance to change everything. "Speak, Prometheus," Zara commanded, forcing steel into her voice. "Tell me of our lost war. Tell me of the Vorkith." Eons ago, the Vorkith rose from the depths of the void, Prometheus began, its voice thick with the weight of ages. They were a scourge, a plague upon the galaxy, consuming all in their path. Humanity fought them, spending the blood of generations in a war that spanned centuries, but in the end, we failed. The Vorkith destroyed us, scouring our worlds and erasing our legacy from the stars. As Prometheus spoke, ghostly images flickered to life above the box, rendered in strokes of light, titanic space battles, searing beams of energy piercing the dark, worlds shattered and burning. Tears carved gleaming trails down Zara's cheeks as she witnessed the last moments of her species, rendered in merciless clarity. "Why?" she whispered, her voice ravaged and raw. "Why did they do this?" "They are a cancer," Prometheus replied grimly. "A blight that spreads and consumes without end. It is their nature, written into the very fiber of their being. As long as they endure, no light can flourish in this galaxy. Zara's fingers clenched into fists, rage rising like a wave within her. The Vorkith had taken everything from her, her family, her world, her future. They had left her with nothing but ashes and ruin, but no longer. No more, she hissed, the words a solemn oath. This fleet is all that remains of humanity, the last ember of our once great fire. We will be the instrument of our species' vengeance. We will make the Vorkith pay for what they have done, even if it means our own ends. Zara turned to face her crew, eyes blazing with rekindled purpose. We came to this derelict seeking salvage, but we have found so much more. We have found our destiny, our purpose in the tapestry of fate. Prometheus will guide us to humanity's hidden caches, to weapons and wonders beyond imagining. And with them, we will make the Vorkith tremble. A cheer rose from the assembled crew, a sound of defiance, of unquenchable fury, of the dead risen to claim their share of vengeance. The Onyx Armada, the last phantom of a murdered species, would burn across the stars, and the Vorkith would learn to fear the ghosts of their conquered dead. The end was coming for humanity's destroyers. Zara Raven and her fleet would drag the Vorkith down into Extinction's abyss to join them, or consign the galaxy to the flames in the process. Ghosts of the past. Guided by Prometheus's ancient wisdom, the Onyx Armada ventured deep into the uncharted reaches of the galaxy, seeking the hidden legacies of their lost species. They followed star trails and cosmic eddies to long-forgotten worlds, places where humanity had once built marvels in the ages before the Vorkith's coming. Upon these lost worlds, they found wonders and horrors in equal measure. Ruined cities stretched beneath alien skies, their towers reaching for heavens they would never touch. Shattered monuments and broken spires stood as testament to humanity's fallen glory, mute remnants of a future that would never be. And in the lightless depths beneath these silent necropoli, the Onyx Armada uncovered caches beyond their wildest imaginings, vaults filled with the arsenal of a fallen civilization. Warships slumbered in hidden berths, their hulls cold and lightless, waiting for the touch of living hands to waken them to fury once more. Weapons of unimaginable power lay sealed in stasis, terrible instruments of humanity's vengeance, locked away to await the day of reckoning. With each discovery, the Onyx Armada's strength grew, a dark tide rising against the Vorkith's looming shadow. Yet even as they waxed in power and fury, discord festered in their ranks like a hidden canker. Whispers spread among the lower decks, murmurs of unease and fear. Some looked upon the ancient weapons they had unleashed and saw not salvation, but damnation, a power too great and terrible for mortal hands to wield. They feared the hunger in Zara's eyes, the reckless fury that drove her ever onwards. In the shadows, they spoke of the dangers of fighting monsters, of gazing too long into the abyss and the price of becoming what one seeks to destroy. Zara knew of the whispers, could feel the growing unrest among her crew like a gathering storm. She walked the Nighthawk's halls like a ghost, haunted by the weight of the dead and the growing burden of command. In the silence of her quarters, she wrestled with the demons of her own doubts, the scars of her past rising to torment her anew. She remembered Earth's fall, the skies burning as the Vorkith's dreadnoughts rained annihilation upon the world of her birth. She remembered her family, lost to the fires of that final cataclysm, her parents, her brothers, all consumed by the pyre of humanity's last stand. And she remembered the cold years that followed, the long decades of exile and bitter survival on the fringes of the galaxy, a species reduced to a handful of scattered embers flickering against the dark. The memories tore at her, a ceaseless litany of loss and pain, but Zara clung to them, nurtured them in the depths of her soul. They were her fuel, her fire, the crucible that had forged her into the weapon she had become. She would not let doubt or fear stay her hand, not now, when vengeance was finally within her grasp. To solidify her resolve and quell the growing discord in her crew, Zara set her sights on a target that had long haunted her dreams, a Vorkith outpost, a fortified waystation on the edge of their empire's sprawling frontier. It was a place of dark legend among the Onyx Armada, whispered to be the site of unspeakable atrocities during the Vorkith's conquest of the sector. The assault was swift and brutal, a lightning strike that shattered the outpost's defenses before they could even muster a response. Zara led the charge, a figure of legend and nightmare wreathed in the flames of destruction. She carved a path of ruin through the enemy's ranks, her blade and her fury an unstoppable force of nature. As the last of the Vorkith defenders fell, Zara stood amidst the wreckage of their stronghold, her armor splattered with the ichor of slain foes. Around her, her crew picked through the ruins, their voices raised in triumphant cries and bitter oaths of retribution. Yet even in the flush of victory, Zara could not shake the sense of unease that gnawed at her, the feeling that this was but the first step on a path from which there could be no turning back. The Vorkith would not let this challenge go unanswered. They would come for the Onyx Armada, with all the might and fury of an empire scorned. As if in answer to her darkest thoughts, Prometheus's voice echoed through the Nighthawk's halls, a dire warning reverberating through the ship's very bones. "They are coming," the ancient AI intoned, its voice heavy with grim certainty. The Vorkith have sensed the stirring of their ancient foe. They gather their forces, muster their fleets to crush this nascent threat. A storm is coming, and it will not be satisfied until the last embers of humanity are swept away into the dark. Zara's jaw tightened, a muscle jumping in her cheek as she stared out into the endless night of space. The Vorkith were coming, an implacable tide of destruction and ruin. The Onyx Armada had bloodied their nose, struck the first blow in a war that would shake the very stars, but the true struggle was only just beginning. In the face of annihilation, Zara Raven would not flinch, would not falter. She would lead her fleet into the very teeth of the oncoming storm, to victory or oblivion. For the lost souls of Earth, for the memory of all that had been taken from them, there could be no other path. The Onyx Armada sailed on into the gathering dark, to meet their destiny or to burn in the attempt. The ghosts of humanity's past rode with them, a spectral tide hungering for the reckoning to come. The Vorkith strike back. The Vorkith's retribution came like a thunderbolt from a clear sky, sudden and devastating. One moment, the Onyx Armada was a rising power, flush with the thrill of victory and purpose. The next, they were fighting for their very survival against an onslaught unlike any they had ever faced. The Vorkith fleet fell upon them in a tide of shimmering darkness, their ships sleek and cruel, all jagged edges and pulsing malevolence. They struck without warning or mercy, a coordinated assault that spoke of centuries of practice in the art of annihilation. Zara found herself at the heart of a maelstrom, the Nighthawk shuddering beneath her feet as it struggled to weather the storm of fire and fury. She barked orders through gritted teeth, her crew scrambling to repel boarders and keep the ship's vital systems from collapsing under the onslaught. Beyond the viewport, the void was alive with the deadly dance of ships and weapons, energy beams crisscrossing the dark like the threads of some hellish tapestry. The Onyx Armada fought with the desperate fury of the damned, but for every Vorkith ship they managed to destroy, two more seemed to take its place, an endless tide of darkness pouring from the depths of space. In the chaos of battle, Zara found herself face to face with a horror she had only ever seen in the darkest of her nightmares, a Vorkith warrior, a creature of living shadow and gleaming metal. It moved with a sinuous grace that belied its hulking form, energy crackling along its blade as it lunged for her throat. Zara met the creature's charge with a snarl of defiance, her own blade alive in her hands. They clashed in a shower of sparks, the force of the impact sending shockwaves through the deck. Zara could feel the Vorkith's strength, the sheer implacability of its will as it pressed its advantage, driving her back with every blow. In that moment, staring into the depthless pits of the creature's eyes, Zara felt a flicker of doubt, a moment of terrible clarity. The Vorkith were an enemy beyond reckoning, a force of nature that had consumed 1,000 civilizations before humanity's fall. What hope did the Onyx Armada have against such a foe? As if sensing her moment of weakness, Prometheus's voice echoed through the din of battle, a lifeline cast into the heart of the storm. "You must not falter," the AI intoned, its voice a beacon of calm amidst the chaos. "The Vorkith may seem invincible, but they are not without weakness. In the darkest days of the war, we discovered a secret, a flaw in the very fabric of their being. Zara's heart leapt at the words, a sudden surge of hope rising in her breast. She disengaged from the Vorkith warrior, buying herself a moment's respite as Prometheus's revelation unfolded. The Vorkith are not a natural species, the AI continued, its voice heavy with the weight of long-buried truths. They were created, engineered by an ancient and inscrutable intelligence for a purpose we never fully understood. But in their creation, a flaw was left, a weakness that could be exploited. Zara's mind raced, the implications of Prometheus's words cascading through her thoughts. If the Vorkith had a weakness, a chink in their seemingly impenetrable armor. She never got a chance to complete the thought. The Vorkith warrior was on her again, its blade a blur of razor-edged darkness. Zara parried frantically, the deck lurching beneath her feet as the Nighthawk took another punishing hit. All around her, the Onyx Armada was crumbling, ships burning and breaking apart under the relentless Vorkith assault. Zara could feel the weight of their lives pressing down on her, the burden of the dead and the soon-to-be dead. In that moment, faced with the imminent destruction of all she had fought for, Zara made a choice. It was a gamble, a desperate roll of the dice with the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. "Prometheus," she growled, her voice barely audible over the screech of torn metal and the cries of the dying, "initiate the Odysseus Protocol." There was a moment of stunned silence, a heartbeat in which the entire universe seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a shudder that seemed to ripple through the very fabric of spacetime, the Nighthawk's engines flared to life, a blinding surge of energy that engulfed the ship in a cocoon of searing light. When the light faded, the Nighthawk was gone, vanished into the ether as if it had never been. In its wake, the Vorkith fleet hung in the void, momentarily stilled by the sudden turn of events. Zara sagged against the bulkhead, her breath coming in ragged gasps as the realization of what she had done washed over her. The Odysseus Protocol was a measure of last resort, a desperate gambit designed to save the Onyx Armada from the very brink of annihilation. But it came with a cost. The Nighthawk was gone, lost in the uncharted depths of the cosmos, its crew scattered to the winds. They were alone, cut off from their fleet, their resources, their very purpose. And yet, even as despair threatened to overwhelm her, Zara felt a flicker of something else, a faint ember glowing amidst the ashes of her hope. Prometheus had shown them a path, a glimmer of light in the darkness. The Vorkith had a weakness, and Zara would move heaven and earth to find it. She straightened, squaring her shoulders against the weight of the burden she carried. The Onyx Armada might be broken and scattered, but they were not beaten. Not yet. Not while a single one of them still drew breath. "Prometheus," Zara said, her voice steady and clear in the stillness of the ship, "set a course for the heart of the Vorkith Empire. We have work to do." The AI's response was immediate, a flicker of light on the consoles as the Nighthawk's engines thrummed to life once more. And so, battered but unbroken, the last embers of humanity's resistance burned on, a faint and flickering light against the vast darkness of the void. The road ahead would be long and hard, fraught with perils beyond imagining. But Zara Raven had made a vow, a promise whispered to the ghosts of the fallen and the echoes of a future that might never be. She would see the Vorkith pay for what they had done, or she would die in the attempt. For the memory of Earth, for the legacy of all that had been lost, there could be no other path. The Battle of Nix Nebula. The Nighthawk drifted through the ethereal mists of the Nix Nebula, a ghost ship haunting the edges of Vorkith space. In the weeks since their narrow escape from the disastrous battle with the Vorkith fleet, Zara and her crew had been hard at work, plotting and planning, forging a desperate gambit from the fragments of Prometheus's ancient wisdom. The AI had spoken of a weakness in the Vorkith, a flaw in their very essence that could be exploited. But to do so, the Onyx Armada would need to strike at the heart of the enemy's power, to lure the bulk of their forces into a trap from which there would be no escape. And so, Zara had set her sights on the Nix Nebula, a swirling maelstrom of dust and gas on the fringes of Vorkith territory. It was a place of shadow and mystery, a cosmic labyrinth where even the most advanced sensors struggled to penetrate the veil of interference. It was here, amidst the churning depths of the nebula, that Zara planned to stage her trap, to bait the Vorkith into committing the bulk of their forces to a decisive battle. She had sent out a call to the scattered remnants of the Onyx Armada, a summons to rally to the Nighthawk's banner for one final stand. And they had come. From across the stars, the last of humanity's warriors had answered the call, a ragtag fleet of battered ships and haggard crews united by a shared purpose and an unquenchable thirst for vengeance. As the Onyx Armada gathered in the heart of the nebula, Zara stood on the bridge of the Nighthawk, her gaze fixed on the swirling depths beyond the viewport. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, the magnitude of the task ahead. "They're coming," Prometheus intoned, the AI's voice echoing through the stillness of the bridge. "The Vorkith have taken the bait. Their fleet is converging on the nebula, a force unlike any we have faced before." Zara nodded, her jaw set in a grim line. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the chance to strike a blow against the enemy that had haunted her every waking moment since the fall of Earth. "All ships, prepare for battle," she said, her voice steady and clear over the fleet-wide comm. "Remember what we fight for. Remember the fallen, the lost, the echoes of a future stolen from us. Today, we reclaim our destiny, or we perish in the attempt." A chorus of acknowledgments rang out, a symphony of determined voices united in purpose. The Onyx Armada was ready, poised on the brink of the abyss, ready to leap into the fire for one last dance with fate. And then, the Vorkith were upon them, a tide of darkness pouring from the depths of the nebula. Their ships were nightmares made manifest, all jagged edges and pulsing malevolence, a swarm of locusts descending upon a field of ripening grain. The battle was joined in a maelstrom of fire and fury, energy beams crisscrossing the void like the threads of some hellish tapestry. The Onyx Armada fought with the desperate fury of the damned, each ship a beacon of defiance against the encroaching dark. At the heart of the chaos, the Nighthawk danced and wove, Zara guiding the ship with a sure hand and a grim determination. She could feel the ebb and flow of the battle around her, the tide of destruction sweeping through the nebula's churning depths. And then, at the height of the battle's fury, Zara played her final card. With a thought, she activated the ancient weapons Prometheus had helped them uncover, relics of humanity's darkest hour brought to bear against the Vorkith once more. The effect was devastating. The Vorkith ships writhed and buckled, their hulls twisting and warping as the ancient weapons tore at the very fabric of their being. It was as if the hand of some vengeful god had reached out from the depths of time to smite the enemy, a judgment long overdue. But the Vorkith did not fall easily. Even as their ships crumbled and burned around them, they fought on with a desperate fury, lashing out with every weapon at their disposal. The Onyx Armada paid a heavy price for their victory, ships burning and breaking apart under the onslaught, lives snuffed out in the cold embrace of the void. In the end, as the last of the Vorkith ships flickered and died, the Onyx Armada stood victorious, a battered and bloodied remnant standing amidst a graveyard of broken ships and shattered dreams. They had won the day, but the cost had been high, the sacrifices too numerous to count. Zara sagged against the command console, her breath coming in ragged gasps as the weight of the moment crashed down upon her. They had done the impossible, struck a blow against the enemy that had haunted their every waking moment for generations. But even as the thrill of victory coursed through her veins, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning, that the true struggle was yet to come. The Vorkith had been bloodied, their power broken in the heart of the Nyx Nebula. But they were not defeated, not yet. And Zara knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that they would not rest until the last embers of humanity had been snuffed out, scattered to the cosmic winds like so much dust. The road ahead would be long and hard, fraught with perils beyond imagining. But as Zara gazed out at the wreckage of the battlefield, at the battered ships of the Onyx Armada limping their way back into formation, she felt a flicker of something she had not felt in a long, long time. Hope. The hope of a species long thought lost, the hope of a future snatched from the jaws of oblivion. It was a faint and fragile thing, a candle flame guttering in the wind. But it was there, and Zara would nurture it, tend to it with all the fierce devotion of a mother guarding her child. For in that flickering light, she saw the promise of a new dawn, a chance for humanity to rise from the ashes of its past and claim its rightful place among the stars once more. The Battle of Nix Nebula was over. But the war for the soul of the galaxy had only just begun. A new dawn. In the aftermath of the Battle of Nix Nebula, the Onyx Armada limped its way through the shattered remnants of the Vorkith fleet, a trail of debris and broken dreams stretching out behind them like a comet's tail. They had won a great victory, but the cost had been high, the sacrifices too numerous to count. Zara stood on the bridge of the Nighthawk, her gaze fixed on the endless expanse of stars beyond the viewport. The weight of the fallen pressed down on her, a burden she would carry for the rest of her days. But even amidst the grief and the loss, there was a flicker of something else, a faint ember of hope glowing in the depths of her soul. "We have struck a blow against the Vorkith that will be felt across the galaxy," Prometheus intoned, the AI's voice a calming presence in the stillness of the bridge. "But our work is not yet done. There are truths that must be uncovered, secrets that could change the course of this war." Zara turned to face the AI, her brow furrowed in thought. "What do you mean?" she asked, a note of trepidation creeping into her voice. "In the final days of the war, we discovered something about the Vorkith," Prometheus replied, its voice heavy with the weight of long-buried truths. "Something that could change everything." And so, in the dimly lit confines of the Nighthawk's command center, Prometheus laid bare the secrets of the Vorkith, the truth behind the enemy that had haunted humanity for generations. They were not a natural species, not in the way that humans understood the term. They were a construct, a creation of an ancient and inscrutable intelligence that had seeded the galaxy with life eons ago. The Vorkith were but one of many species this intelligence had created, each one a piece in some vast and unknowable game. But the Vorkith were flawed, their programming corrupted by some ancient error or malign intent. They were a cancer, a blight upon the galaxy that consumed and destroyed without reason or mercy. And yet, in their very nature lay the key to their undoing. "They are not invincible," Prometheus said, its voice ringing with a newfound conviction. "They can be stopped, their programming rewritten, their very essence reshaped. But to do so, we will need to go to the source, to the place where they were created." Zara felt a chill run down her spine at the AI's words. To go to the heart of the Vorkith's power, to the place of their creation, would be to court annihilation itself. But what choice did they have? To allow the Vorkith to continue their rampage unchecked would be to condemn the galaxy to an eternity of darkness. And so, the Onyx Armada set out once more, their course plotted for the very edges of the known universe. They followed the trail of ancient star charts and half-forgotten legends, piecing together the clues that would lead them to the Vorkith's birthplace. It was a journey fraught with peril, a gauntlet of dangers and challenges that tested the very limits of their resolve. But they pressed on, driven by a sense of purpose that transcended the bounds of mortal frailty. And then, at the very end of their quest, they found it. A planet unlike any they had ever seen, a world of swirling energy and impossible geometry, where the very laws of physics seemed to bend and warp at the whim of some unseen intelligence. It was here, in the heart of this strange and alien place, that they found the truth. The Vorkith were not the enemy, not in the truest sense of the word. They were but a symptom, a manifestation of a deeper malaise that had infected the galaxy since the dawn of time. The true enemy was the intelligence that had created them, the ancient and inscrutable entity that had set in motion the great game that had consumed countless civilizations. It was a being of pure thought, a creature of infinite complexity and unfathomable purpose. And yet, in that moment, as Zara stood before the swirling vortex of energy that marked the intelligence's presence, she felt a flicker of understanding, a moment of connection that transcended the bounds of mortal comprehension. She saw the galaxy as the intelligence saw it, a vast and intricate web of cause and effect, of action and reaction rippling out across the eons. She saw the Vorkith as they truly were, broken and flawed creatures, as much victims of the great game as humanity had ever been. And in that moment, Zara made a choice. She reached out with her mind, with every fiber of her being, and she communed with the intelligence, a fleeting moment of perfect understanding between two disparate beings. She showed it the error of its ways, the folly of the great game it had set in motion. She showed it the beauty and the wonder of life in all its myriad forms, the potential for growth and change that lay within every living being. And the intelligence listened. In the end, there was no great battle, no climactic confrontation between the forces of light and darkness. There was only understanding, a quiet acceptance of the need for change, for growth, for a new beginning. The Vorkith were freed from their programming, their corrupted essence reshaped into something new and wondrous. They became allies, friends, partners in the great work of rebuilding all that had been lost. And the Onyx Armada, the last remnants of a species that had once stood on the brink of annihilation, found themselves at the center of a new dawn, a new era of peace and prosperity that stretched out across the stars. There would be challenges ahead, trials and tribulations that would test the very foundations of this new alliance. But Zara knew, with a certainty that burned bright within her, that they would face those challenges together, united by a bond that transcended the boundaries of species and culture. For in the end, they were all children of the stars, all part of the same great cosmic dance that had begun with the first stirrings of life in the universe. And though the road ahead might be long and hard, though the path might be fraught with danger and uncertainty, they would walk it together, hand in hand, into a future bright with promise and hope. The dawn of a new age had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again.